Okay, everybody, we're going to continue on with our belated 3-in-1 birthday special with the 1995 PC version of Jeopardy. I've got Marty with me at the moment.
Yay! Welcome to Jeopardy! Let's begin our game.
Alright. I'll just go ahead and use my own name. We're going to make them beanies.
My name's Ted Smith. I'm a print journalist with a major weekly news magazine. I love my job, and I spend my spare time studying the day's events from Washington.
Hello, I'm Ruth Goldsmith. I'm a chemist for a pharmaceutical company. I've been interested in science ever since my mother gave me my first science kit for my 10th birthday.
Here we go.
All right, contestants, let's begin round one.
Business and
daily
industry.
double on the board.
Middle
Here are the
names.
categories.
U.S. geography. Toys and games. Colors, and finally, biology.
Good luck. Contestant number one, we'll start with you.
Biology 100.
Let's take a look at the answer.
Something defined as congenital is present at this time.
Contestant number one.
What is birth?
You are correct.
Biology 200.
Contestant number one.
A sprain is an injury to these connective tissues between the bones of a joint.
Contestant number one.
What are muscles?
Sorry.
Nah.
Contestant number three.
What are ligaments? Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number three.
Toys and games 400. She found the daily double. Wow. And she's going to go $400 on this clue. And here's her clue. Guinness says one of these Earth sign toys was sold at auction for a record-breaking 55,100 pounds. What is a teddy bear? Yep.
You are correct. Contestant number three.
Toys and games 500. Colorful patterns are formed inside this toy, whose name is from the Greek for beautiful form viewer.
Contestant number
What
one.
is a kaleidoscope?
You are
Toys
correct.
and games 100.
Contestant number one.
The Liverpool form of this game isn't quite as popular as the gin type.
Contestant number one.
What is rummy?
You are correct.
Toys and games 200.
Contestant number one.
This country's Gosho dolls, which represent chubby babies, are named for an imperial palace in Kyoto.
Contestant number one.
What is Japan?
You are
Toys and
correct.
games 300.
Contestant number one.
These New Zealand natives like to play with potakas, which are spinning tops.
Contestant number one.
Who are the Maori?
You are correct.
Yay.
Contestant number
Biology
one.
300.
Yay.
It's the thigh bone of a tetrapod. Hint, you're a tetrapod.
Contestant number one.
What is the tibia?
Oh, sorry.
No.
That's not right.
Ah, poop.
Contestant number two.
Tibia? I just said that!
Sorry, incorrect. Anyone else?
So, Ted, you fail.
Contestant number three.
Miserably.
And Ruth doesn't know either. It's the
No,
femur.
I'm afraid that is not correct.
Biology 400.
Contestant number one.
New molds form from these, not from seeds.
Contestant number one.
What are spores?
You are
Biology
correct.
for 500.
Contestant number one.
During meiosis, the number of these is cut in half so there aren't twice as many in the next generation.
Contestant number
What
one.
are chromosomes?
You are correct.
Business and Industry 100.
Contestant number 1.
This car rental company is Detroit's biggest customer.
Contestant number 1.
What is Brinks? No.
Sorry. Incorrect.
Ah, poop.
Contestant number 2.
What is Hertz? Yeah.
Yes. That's correct. Contestant number 2.
Business and Industry 200. This firm prepares about 10% of all individual tax returns in the U.S.
Contestant number 1.
What is H&R Block?
Yes.
Business and Industry
That's
300.
correct. Contestant number 1. Here is the clue.
Scotch tape is just one of 50,000 products made by this company.
Contestant number 1.
What is 3M?
Yes.
Business and Industry
That's
400.
correct. Contestant number 1.
This firm, which makes Air Jordan athletic shoes, was originally called Blue Ribbon Sports.
Contestant number 1.
What is Nike?
Yes.
Business and Industry
That's
500.
correct. Contestant number 1.
This Seattle firm is Washington State's largest employer.
Contestant number 1.
What is Starbucks?
Sorry. Incorrect.
Ah, darn it.
Contestant number 3.
Oh, Ruth doesn't know.
Sorry. That's incorrect.
Hey, Marty.
Contestant number 2.
Boop, 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 boop. Not Alaska Air.
No, I'm
Boeing
afraid
aircraft.
that is not
Ow.
correct. Contestant
Colors for
number 1.
100. Elizabeth Post says children should never wear this color at funerals.
Contestant number 1.
What is white?
Incorrect.
Darn.
Contestant number 2.
Oh, Ted doesn't know.
Sorry. That's incorrect. Contestant number 3.
Oh, black.
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct. Contestant number 3.
Colors 200. It's the color as well as the name of those grainy little particles on the beach.
Contestant number 1.
What is sand?
Yes.
Colors for 300.
That's correct. Contestant number 1. The answer is
A shade of green for Grace or Jean.
contestant number 1.
What's Kelly?
Yes.
Colors 400.
That's correct. Contestant number 1.
The Capri shade of this was probably named for the famous grotto of on Capri.
Contestant number 1.
Was blue.
Yes. That's correct.
Colors 500.
Contestant number 1.
The two colors of Canada's flag.
Contestant number
What are
1.
red and white?
You are correct. Contestant
Middle
number
name's
1.
100. Edgar Blank Poe.
Contestant number 1.
Was Alan.
You are
Middle name's
correct.
200.
Contestant number 1. The answer is
John Blank Audubon.
contestant number 1.
Was James.
You are
Middle
correct.
name's 300.
Contestant number 1.
Margaret Blank Smith.
Contestant number 1.
Was Chase.
You are
Middle name's
correct.
400.
Contestant number 1. The answer there is
Isaac Blank Singer.
contestant number 1.
What is Howe? No.
Contestant number 2.
Davis? No.
Sorry. Incorrect.
You fail.
Contestant number 3.
Bashivas? Ruth got it.
Yes. That's correct. Contestant number 3.
Middle name's 500. Elizabeth Blank Stanton.
Contestant number 1.
What is Katie?
Yes. That's
Yes,
correct.
Geography 100.
Contestant number 1.
Though fed by freshwater streams, this Utah lake is saltier than the oceans.
Contestant number
What
1.
is the Great Salt Lake?
Yes.
U.S. Geography
That's
200.
correct. Contestant number 1.
The American dam at El Paso controls the water of this river.
Contestant number 1.
What is the Rio Grande?
Yes.
300.
That's correct. Contestant number 1.
Indian River, Gulf, and Sarasota are among the last counties established in this state.
Contestant number 1.
Florida.
Yes.
400.
That's correct. Contestant number 1.
The Diamond Shoals area off this North Carolina cape has been the site of numerous shipwrecks.
Contestant number 1.
What is Cape Hatteras?
Yes.
Now the last clue.
That's correct. Contestant number 1.
This state's northwest angle on Lake of the Woods is the northernmost point of the USA except for Alaska.
Contestant number 1.
What is Minnesota?
Yes.
Well done. I'm at
That's correct.
$5,400.
Now for the double Jeopardy round, with 2
1992.
daily doubles somewhere on the board.
Composers.
In these categories.
Rocks and minerals. Newspapers. Russian literature. And finally, leftovers.
Good luck. Contestant number 2, we'll start with you.
1992 for 200.
Here is the clue.
The young version of this singer won the stamp election by a landslide, 851,200 to 277,723 votes.
Contestant number 1,
Who is Elvis Presley?
you are correct.
1992 for 400.
Contestant number 1,
In July, he announced that he would not seek the U.S. presidency after all. In October, he changed his mind.
contestant number 1,
Who is Bill Clinton?
sorry.
No.
Contestant number 3,
H. Ross Perot?
you are
Yeah.
correct. Contestant number 3,
1992 600. The Bush administration refused to sign the biodiversity treaty at the environmental summit in this city.
contestant number 3,
What was Rio de Janeiro, Brazil?
yes.
Yep.
That's correct. Contestant number 3,
1992 for 800. On February 4th, this auto company announced it had a record yearly loss of 1991, $4,450 million.
contestant number 1,
What is Chrysler?
no, I'm afraid that is not correct.
Ah.
Contestant number 3,
What is Chrysler Corporation?
sorry.
Wrong.
Contestant number 2,
General Motors?
yes.
That's the one.
That's correct. Contestant number 2,
1992 1000. This former defense secretary succeeded Corazon Aquino as Philippine president in June.
contestant number 3,
Santos? No.
sorry, incorrect. Anyone
You
else?
fail, Ruth.
Contestant number 2,
Fidel Ramos?
you are
Yeah.
correct. Contestant number 2,
Composers 200.
the answer is
After the death of Hammerstein, he wrote the musical Do I Hear a Waltz with Stephen Sondheim. Oh,
contestant number 3,
got lucked out. Richard Rogers, yeah, I knew that one. But I got lucked out.
yes. That's correct. Contestant number 3,
Composers 400. This Tchaikovsky suite was first played in March 1892, some 9 months before the ballet.
contestant number 1,
What is the Nutcracker suite?
yes.
Composer
That's
600.
correct. Contestant number 1,
Neptune the Mystic is one of the 7 movements of this Gustav Holst work.
contestant number 2,
What is space? No.
oh, I'm sorry. That's wrong.
You fail.
Contestant number 3.
The planets?
You are
Yep.
correct. Contestant number 3.
Composer's 800. One of the 2 daily doubles. She's gonna go $800. That'll put her at 1100 if she gets this clue right. Heard in Fantasia, this orchestral scherzo is Paul Dukas' most famous work. What is The Sorcerer's Apprentice?
Yes.
Yep.
That's correct. Contestant number 3.
Composers for 1,000. He devised a method of composing with 12 notes related only to one another.
Contestant number 2.
Who is Stravinsky? No.
Sorry, incorrect. Anyone else?
Ted, keep playing like this. You won't be around for Final Jeopardy.
Contestant number 3.
Who is Arnold Schönberg?
Yes.
He's the one.
That's correct. Contestant number 3.
Rocks and Minerals 200. The most extensively occurring igneous rock. A lot of things are taken for it.
Contestant number 1.
What is granite?
Yes.
Rocks and Minerals
That's
400.
correct. Contestant number 1.
Obsidian can only be found in areas where this activity has recently occurred.
Contestant number 1.
What is a volcanic eruption?
You are
Volcanic
correct.
activity, yeah.
Contestant number
Rocks and
1.
Minerals 600. Cuprite is one of the ores from which we get this metal.
Contestant number 3.
What is quartz? No.
Sorry, incorrect.
You fail, Ruth.
Contestant number 2.
Copper, yeah.
You are
That
correct.
was my guess, but I didn't want to buzz in.
Contestant number 2.
Rocks and Minerals 800. To aid in recognizing iron minerals, you might take one of these common items with you.
Contestant number 2.
What is a magnet?
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 2.
Rocks and Minerals 1,000.
The answer is
The presence of this element in halite makes it turn a flame yellow.
contestant number 3.
What is sulfur? No.
I'm sorry, that's wrong.
You fail.
Contestant number 2.
Sodium?
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 2.
Newspapers 200. In 1876, this state's Bismarck Tribune became the first paper to report the Battle of the Little Bighorn.
Contestant number 1.
What is North Dakota?
Yes,
Newspapers 400.
that's correct. Contestant number 1.
This state's first newspaper, the Dubuque Visitor, began publishing in 1836.
Contestant number 1.
What is Iowa?
Yes,
Newspapers for 600.
that's correct. Contestant number 1.
This city's La Presse is one of Canada's largest French language dailies.
Contestant number 1.
What is Montreal?
Yes,
Newspapers 800.
that's correct. Contestant number 1.
This Indianapolis newspaper is Indiana's largest.
Contestant number 3.
What is the Indianapolis Star?
You are correct. Contestant number 3.
Newspapers 1,000. This city's only daily newspaper is the Plain Dealer.
Contestant number 2.
Akron? No.
Incorrect.
You fail.
Contestant number 3.
Cleveland? Yeah, Cleveland, Ohio? Yeah.
You are correct. Contestant number 3.
Russian literature 200. Napoleon's invasion of Russia in 1812 is featured in this 1865-69 Tolstoy novel.
Contestant number 1.
What is War and Peace?
You are correct.
Russian literature 400.
Contestant number 1.
Boris Pasternak was ejected from the Soviet Union of Soviet Writers because of the furor caused by this novel.
Contestant number 2.
Dr. Zhivago?
You
Yep.
are correct. Contestant number 2.
Russian literature 600. This dramatist-less play, The Cherry Orchard, was first performed on January 17th, 1904, about 6 months before his death.
Contestant number 2.
Who was Tolstoy? No.
Sorry, incorrect.
You failed, Ted. Anton Chekhov.
Contestant number 2.
Russian literature 800. The other daily double. And he's going to go for 800 on this clue. Alright, here it is. In 1974, Alexander Solzhenitsyn was exiled because of the publication of this work. What is The Prisoners? Nope.
Oh, sorry.
The Gulag
That's not
Archipelago.
right. Contestant number 2.
Russian literature 1000. He began writing his classic verse novel Eugene Onegin while stationed in Kishinev in 1823.
Contestant number 2.
Who is Alexander Pushkin?
You are correct. Contestant number 2.
Leftovers 200. The giant version of this bearded dog was bred to drive cattle in Bavaria.
Contestant number 2.
What is the Schnauzer?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's correct. Contestant number 2.
400. This creator of Peter Rabbit was the first to notice a lichen combined algae and fungi.
Contestant number 1.
Who is Beatrix Potter?
Yes,
600.
that's correct. Contestant number 1.
Steve McQueen starred in this campy sci-fi flick about a giant ball of goop from outer space.
Contestant number 1.
What is The Blob?
Good job.
Thanks.
Contestant number 1.
800. In names of perfumes, this bright color precedes door or stands alone.
Contestant number 2.
What is yellow?
Oh, sorry.
No.
That's not right. Contestant number 3.
Red?
You are correct.
Last clue.
Contestant number 3.
This adjective that means cross-shaped often refers to church design.
Contestant number 3.
Cruciform?
Yes.
Yep.
That's
so Ted will
correct.
not be around for Final Jeopardy.
The final Jeopardy category is
Organization.
contestant number 1. What would you like to wager?
I'll just go for 200 only.
Okay.
The final Jeopardy clue is
Alright, the clue is, the symbol of this organization is a lighted candle with barbed wire surrounding it. I have no idea, so I'm just going to say, what is Matthew Bingle's Cards Against Humanity? Which I know is wrong.
contestant number 3. Your final Jeopardy response was incorrect. Let's see what
Amnesty
contestant
International.
number
So Ruth
3
got it
wagered.
wrong, wagered everything, and she drops to nothing.
Your total?
I got it wrong, but I only wagered 200.
Contestant number 1. Your final Jeopardy response was wrong. Let's see what contestant number 1 wagered.
Just $200, so I dropped to 7,600, but it's still enough for me to win.
Yay.
Yay!
Your total? Contestant number 1, you are now the reigning Jeopardy champion. Congratulations.
Yay! I won!
Yay.
We'll wrap it up here. See you all for the next segment in just a bit.